YouTube, what the crap's going on? Heir of Carthage here, and if you all watched the Total War Rome 2 Invitational Tournament that Team Dignitas ran, you may have seen this, but Prince of Macedon and I got together for kind of like a just a show match to put into the tournament. So it was a Carthage versus Macedon battle. We played on the Alexandria map. And before we hop into this, just so try and make this clear, it's funny because a lot of you like Prince of Macedon and you like me, so you think it'd be cool to see us play, and that's great. You'll get to see that here. Some of you hate Prince of Macedon for whatever reason and think that I'm like his arch enemy and that I should destroy him or something like that. And I don't get really where that comes from. So just so you all know, I actually wouldn't have ever started on YouTube if it weren't for him. I played a match versus him and I saw it on YouTube and I thought it might be cool to learn how to make my own YouTube videos, and that's where it all came from. So yeah, and so honestly, Prince of Macedon was someone that I enjoy watching his videos, and he's been on YouTube for a long time as far as Total War goes. And so obviously he's a friend of mine, and I've enjoyed getting to participate with him in several different events over the course of being on YouTube. So it's been a lot of fun. But anyway, this is our match. He went very skirmish heavy with Macedon, which I honestly didn't expect. And he may have been concerned about me bringing elephants, which I did. And I have gone with more of a rush build here from Carthage with some swords and some spear support for my cavalry, because I figured that the enemy Thessalian cav would have the advantage in a straight-up cav fight. So my sword line is all mercenaries. I've got 3 mercenary Sam Knights, 3 mercenary Scutari. I've got 2 late Libyan hoplites on either flank. This flank is 2 Carthaginian cav, and then this flank is 2 mercenary Scutari cav, and then I've got a mercenary Numidian cav as well. I was hoping to put some javelins into maybe any heavy shot cavalry that Macedon might bring. Anyway, that's kind of my plan. I kind of switched the starting directions here. It should have been here, I think, like going this way like it normally is, so back and forth like this, but yeah, I accidentally had the starting directions messed up, so whoops, apologize about that. Let's go ahead and fast forward as we move in towards each other here. So right now I can see a couple of Thessalian cav pop up, and these guys are definitely what I was concerned about. My mercenary Numidians can certainly be an annoyance to them, and of course Prince of Macedon's going to pull his units back from my Numidian cav. So my idea is pretty straightforward, honestly. I just want to come up, tie down the center, and I'm hoping to use some of my Iberian swordsmen to put some pressure on one flank, and then my elephants I'll try and save for late game if necessary and bring them in from the other flank. So basically just trying to overwhelm him on one flank is kind of where I'm going at this, and at this point I can't see his entire army. I am starting to see javelin men up front though, and I also see pikes, so I'm going to have to make sure that I don't just rush straight into the front of his pikes. And I've done a little scouting over here and turned up a couple of thorax swordsmen and a couple of Thessalian cav as well. So it looks like 4 Thessalians in total. And I'm trying to kind of harass them here with my mercenary Numidian cav. We get a nice javelin toss here. It is in the woods though, and I actually end up losing men here from his Cretan archers, I believe, that turn around and fire at me. So yeah, his mercenary Cretans killed several of my men there. So I'm going to have to pull out with the Numidian cav. I pushed the harassment for a little longer, but decided to go ahead and get out of there. Fortunately for me, the forest gave me some cover. Those mercenary Cretans would have absolutely destroyed me on open ground. So I started moving up a flank over here. I was going to use my late Libyans to shield my Iberians from charges. And Prince of Macedon has a thorax sword and a royal peltist over here. The royal peltist is actually a very real threat to all of my infantry, and potentially could be a threat to my elephants too, because they can throw javelins. So my idea here is I'm going to try and push to see if I can get to some of his skirmishers. I may end up having to sacrifice a cav unit, but his men weren't positioned necessarily just yet to protect the skirmishers, so I keep trying to push forward here, see if I can get through his men. His royal peltist open up some javelins on me, and then I try to get an attack order here. So trying to scoot through that gap, but I got snagged on his royal peltist, didn't catch it, and my mercenary Scutari cav gets summarily and completely destroyed here by missile fire because I got snagged up for a second. I wasn't able to make it to his javelin men. So I'm going to keep pushing the center up slowly, and I've gotten my forces up here on the flank. So now my Libyan infantry is going to push back his Cretan archers. And they are going to come up against thorax swords and royal peltist though. And again, just kind of keeping the elephants in the back because there's so many skirmishers, so I decided to keep them away. I see an opportunity here with my general. It's going to be very risky because he has pikemen just behind these skirmishers, but since they weren't pike phalanx just yet, figured I could charge in, get a few kills on his javelin men, But I'm going to have to get out of here quickly before he turns and retaliates with all of his missiles, so it's just going to be a quick charge with my general that caused some disruption. I end up splitting again, bring my Sam Knights this way and my Scutari over to this flank, so I'm now completely split, so he can get through my center. But right now it's just pikemen in the center, so it's going to limit his ability to be mobile. And then I start getting some javelin tosses into his Royal Peltist, trying to weaken these guys up, and these guys take an absolute hail of javelins over here. And then I'm going to flank him with the mercenary Sam Knight warriors, and then I'm going to continue to lay down fire with all the javelins from my Iberian swords. So these guys are going to come in handy at really helping to weaken that Royal Peltist, because they would otherwise thrash me quite badly in a fight. My Numidians managed to get behind his lines. I've managed to kill some of his Thessalians, and then over here I'm engaged with Scutari against his Thorax swords. Ought to be a pretty good engagement for my Scutari. And then I'm going to try and pin down his Thessalians as well. But he's still got these Thessalians I'm going after with my hoplites. So just trying to catch all of his cavalry. And again, so we're split down the center, but the pikes, they're definitely capable units in a front-on engagement, but it's going to make it difficult for him to go on the counteroffensive against me splitting up here. He does use his Thessalians nicely here. Gets a good rear charge. I am chasing them with Carthaginian Cav to try and catch up. And his general, though, this is going to be a big blow to his army. His general gets beat over here without very many kills because of all the javelins that came in from my Iberian swordsmen. And that's going to end up playing a key role in the battle here. And then I'm able to get to his skirmishers here again with my general. So at this point, it's looking pretty good for me. I never did pull in the elephants because I was too worried about his skirmishers. And at this point in the game, I'd honestly just forgotten about him, which is typical poor micro on my part. But yeah, so I think that Prince of Macedon's army here was interesting. That's one of the things I like about him, and I do it a lot too. We don't bring real conventional builds. I like watching tournament battles, and I like watching competitive play, but to be honest, when a game gets too competitive where you can't just have fun with it, and that was the fun thing about this. He and I were chatting before the match, had a good time just catching up with each other and getting to play a match. For me, at least, when Total War gets too competitive, it loses its fun. So, like, I was watching the Total War Rome 2 Invitational today, and, like, for instance, there's the match where, and I'm not saying it to be mean, where Panda, though, I mean, it's, the rules kind of dictate it. The tournament rules, I guess, had nothing against it, and Panda was up on the hill, and they just sat there, and, you know, the other guy had to come attack him again. It was all the rules. I'm not trying to say Panda's a jerk or something else like that, but that's the thing, is, like, whenever you have to get in and play to win, it makes you have to be in that, like, live or die mode, you know, where you get in there, it's like, I either got to win or I'm going to die. And to me, again, I totally get it, and I'm not faulting the players for it. I just don't find it as entertaining sometimes. It's just playing a match and going at it. Anyway, I was able to pull out the victory here, so appreciate Prince of Macedon playing a game with me, and it's fun to get to do that. If you all want, we can get together on some things. He and I were kind of discussing some potential, like, historical scenarios that'd be fun too. He likes doing the historical scenarios. He does a lot more about history than I do, so that's something that he usually gets into. So if that's something you'd like to see, I can try and work with him, and maybe we can do some of those historical scenarios together as well. Anyway, hey, thanks for the battle, Prince of Macedon. It was fun. Hope we get a chance to meet up in Total War Rome 2 or Attila or anything else sometime in the future. It's always a pleasure. And if you all want to go check out his channel, of course, I'll have a link, but chances are you probably know who he is before you knew who I was. So anyway, HeirofCarthage signing off for now. I'll see you all soon.